Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that sits right at the heart of our work lives, our personal lives, really everything we do. We're talking about what truly makes us tick. I mean, you've seen it, right? Some people are just fired up, ready to tackle the day, while others are basically just watching the clock from the moment they walk in. So what's the real difference between them? Well, it really boils down to this one incredibly powerful force: motivation. It's the engine that gets us going, the reason we act, achieve, and try to do great things. And in this explainer, we're going to unpack what that really means and how you can tap into it. Okay, so to get a real handle on this, we've got to start with the basics. Let's break down what we're actually talking about when we use this big, powerful word. At its core, the definition is actually pretty simple. Motivation is the why. It's the reason behind everything we do. Think of it as that whole collection of urges inside us, all those desires, wishes, and drives that push us to actually get something done. But here's where it gets a little tricky. Motivation isn't some one-size-fits-all formula. What gets you fired up might do absolutely nothing for the person sitting next to you. And that burst of energy you have on Monday, it can totally vanish by Friday. It's personal, it changes depending on the situation, and it's always shifting. So to wrap our heads around all that complexity, it helps to know where motivation actually comes from. And it really boils down to two main sources: the push from the inside and the pull from the outside. So on one hand, you've got intrinsic motivation. That's the drive that comes from within. It's that amazing feeling of satisfaction you get from mastering a new skill or finally cracking a really tough problem, just for the sake of doing it. Then, on the other side, you've got extrinsic motivation. That's all about the external stuff: the paycheck, a bonus, that public praise from your boss. Both are super powerful for sure, but they tap into totally different parts of who we are. So we've talked about the individual, but what happens when you get a bunch of motivated people together on a team? Well, this is where we need to draw another really important line in the sand: the difference between motivation and morale. And here's the key difference. Motivation, that's deeply personal. It's your drive. Morale, though, is a group thing. It's the team's collective attitude, that shared spirit, the overall vibe of the group. And this brings up a really common mix-up. We tend to think that a team with high morale is automatically a high-performing team, but that's not always true. Just imagine a team that's super tight-knit, totally unified, with amazing morale, but they're all focused on organizing a strike. It's a great reminder that you need that group energy, but it has to be pointed in the right direction. All right, let's get practical. If you're leading a team, how do you actually create an environment where people feel driven? It's time to open up the manager's playbook. The research gives us some really clear, actionable stuff here. You've got the basics, of course: fair pay and clear opportunities for promotion. That's the foundation. But where the real magic happens is when you make jobs more challenging and interesting, when you reward good work right away so people make the connection, and when you manage in a way that makes people feel like they're actually being heard. It's all about creating a space where people feel valued. And just as important is knowing what not to do. These are the morale killers. Giving a really skilled person boring, mindless work, that's a spirit crusher. Or how about buckmastership? I love that term. It's when a manager dodges all the hard stuff and just passes it down the line. Yeah, that kind of behavior will destroy trust and motivation in a heartbeat. Now, we've saved one of the most surprising insights for last. We talked about how managers can motivate their teams, but what is it that actually motivates the best managers? The answer might not be what you think. So let me just ask you, what do you think is the number one thing that drives a truly great manager? Is it a deep desire for their own personal success? Is it the need to be popular and liked by everyone? Or is it something else entirely? Research kind of breaks this down into three key motives. First, there's the need for achievement, that personal drive to just crush it yourself. Second is the need for affiliation. That's the desire to be liked. And third, the need for power, which is the desire to have an impact on others. It turns out one of these is the real secret ingredient. And here it is, the big surprise. The most effective managers are driven by a high need for power. Now, wait a second. That sounds kind of bad, right? But this isn't about being a dictator. It's what researchers call a socialized need for power. It's a deep drive to influence people for the good of the whole organization. The best managers don't need to be the star player, and they don't need to be everyone's best friend.
They need to empower their team to win together.
When you get right down to it, motivation is the invisible current running under everything we do, and understanding it, both in yourself and in other people, is a genuine superpower. So that leaves us with one last question for you. Now that you have a better map of what drives us, how are you going to use it to influence your world?